came to say goodnight, Mr. Whitney.
Good night, Spencer. Have a nice evening. Oh, Spencer.
Yes, sir.
You really haven't had a very nice last few days, have you?
I have no complaints, Mr. Whitney.
Yeah, well, you do strike me as being someone who's good at keeping their complaints to themselves, but I can tell you're upset about that criticism the other day.
You're the employer, sir.
I just wanted you to know how I felt about that Gavin Wiley character.
I know you're upset with me for letting him go, sir. If he'd have had a gun, it would have been a different story.
You know, it's funny, you sort of owe him your job. Yeah, forget it. Forget it.
Yes, sir.
It's just that when he killed Gunther, I didn't just lose a servant. I considered him to be my friend as well.
I understand, Mr. Whitney. The truth is, he was my friend as well.
What do you say?
Not a very close friend, but we got along. I'm sorry I never told you before.
I knew that there was something.
It was some time ago. We were both employed by the same household, Mr. and Mrs. Bowie. We worked there together for almost 3 years.
So that's how you were able to refer to him by his first name when we first talked about him, and you knew that he didn't have a gun.
Well, he didn't have to carry a gun for Mr. Bowie, sir. I did.
So he was the driver and you were the bodyguard, huh?
Yes. Well, anyway, that's why I was so interested in reading about his death.
And that's why you applied for his job.
I hope you don't think there's anything wrong with that, Mr. Whitney.
No.
I just wanted you to know the truth. That's all.
Why didn't you tell me this truth some time ago?
I wasn't really sure how you felt about Gunther, Mr. Whitney.
Well, now you know.
Skylar. God, you're not gonna believe this. Are you going somewhere?
I have the evening off, Mrs. Whitney.
Oh, well, don't let me stop you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Spencer. Why, you look all feverish and flustered and everything. Come on, sit down.
Wait till you hear my news.
Was there a big fur sale someplace?
I told you that I was gonna go have a drink with Nancy Carr and show her my new present. And then Kelly McGrath came in and I nearly died when I heard what he told her.
Well, I'll try and keep my equilibrium. Tell me.
Skylar, Jim Dedrickson is in Monticello.
This properly. I'm sure that what happened was Nancy Carr was talking about doing a follow-up to this story, and it was just a mistake.
Well, if you don't believe me, call Kelly McGrath and ask him, or better yet, call Valerie Bryson, because she saw him first.
The only Jim Dedrickson that Valerie Bryson saw was in bandages in Lucerne, Switzerland.
Well, the raps are off, kid, because he's back, and he ain't you, so figure that one out.
All right, I will. Some joker has presented himself to Valerie and said, "Here I am, your bandaged boyfriend." And he read about her, the character in the newspaper.
Or he read the Monticello Star about how she inherited all those millions.
Exactly. He said, "This is the work of your father."
Well, wouldn't he be afraid of getting caught? You are the original Jim Dedrickson, aren't you?
Well, I'm not actually the original.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, someone else used the name before I did.
Well, that's not uncommon.
What I'm saying is I did not make the character up. See, I needed a biography, a personal profile, you might say.
Oh, you mean like a real person, someone you knew?
Well, not exactly. Remember I told you that I worked in Washington and I was a small cog in a big bureaucracy?
You told me that Jefferson Brown worked for Fowler Wilcox in the State Department.
That's right. But I had another job in Washington before that, when I was first out of college in 1973. It was not a very pleasant job, but like they say in the movies, somebody had to do it.
What did you do?
Well, I worked for the Department of Defense. It was shortly after Vietnam, and there were a number of us who were collating records. It was sort of a dead file.
Dead?
Yeah, we were taking care of the records of the MIAs and the people who had been killed in Vietnam and wounded. And I ran across one file that was particularly interesting. I took it home with me, and I never brought it back.
Isn't that illegal?
Yeah, well, nobody seemed to notice. And the thing that struck me about this one particular lieutenant who was in the Marine, he had no family. He was quite a bit like me.
A lieutenant? I would expect a general, but not a lieutenant.
Thank you, dear. Well, you see, there wasn't just his war record in this particular file. There also were some personal effects there. His diary was there, and a love letter he had written to his girlfriend in L.A. And I found out that we were interested in a lot of the same things. He was interested in theater. He wanted to make a career out of it. And ballet, poetry, dance. And, like me, he was also strong-minded.
And his name was Jim Dedrickson.
That's right. So this guy who's trying to pass himself off to Valerie is just a fraud.
I don't like it.
Well, honey, it's not your problem.
Your problem is my problem, and I don't like it. And I don't really care about Valerie Bryson, but I would like to protect you, dear.
Well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to go to Valerie to protect her and say this isn't the real guy, he's a fraud, and then tell her how come you're so sure?
Well, we can't very well do that, can we? Perhaps I can find out something myself.
How do you propose doing that?
Carlo Crown's last pictures. I think I'll have to pay a little visit to Valerie Bryson and talk business.
So this is home.
Yes, although I feel like the studio's been more my home since I've been in business for myself.
This is really a nice place. Says something about you.
Yeah, that I need dusting.
Thanks for having me back here, Valerie. It's a lot easier to talk here than in the studio. Bare rooms always remind me of... Nothing.
What? Prison camp? The hospital?
On our way over here, I told you I'd be happy to talk about the past. But no war stories. Okay?
Okay. Sid. Just start with when you left the clinic in Lucerne. What did you do? Did you come back to America? Did you stay in Europe?
I went directly back to Dayton. I told you I was a law student there.
You didn't go back to law school. You swore to me that you'd never do that. You said it was going to be the theater or nothing.
Well, I almost settled for nothing. No, I didn't go back to school. I went down to San Diego, and I got a job with the theater there. I was a producer and a director and a scenery painter. I'm not with them now, though.
Do you have any plans?
Well, if I did, they're all changed now.
Why?
I think you know why.
Can I get you something?
No, don't trouble.
No, really. I promised you something to eat.
Okay. I'd like a swordfish steak almondy, and potatoes au gratin, and asparagus with hollandaise, and
How could I forget what a gourmet you are? I'm sure there's nothing in my refrigerator, but if it comes in a can...
Comes in a restaurant I know. Come on. I'll take you there.
Who leaves the shine so shiny you have to ask?
Is it wet?
Well, how'd you like my cooking tonight?
Better than mine.
Come back in the kitchen sometime and I'll teach you a few tricks. Your check.
What? It's not on the house?
Hey, now wait a minute. He wants the cooking lessons and you want a free meal. Please, don't bring the rest of the boys in, okay?
Hurry up, Calvin. Your treat. Okay.
You know, where I used to work, cops got free meals all the time.
Yeah? Maybe we should have gone there for dinner.
No, you would have had to pay for the bicarbonate after.
And maybe the guy was a cop hater. That's why the meals were free. Hey, who could hate lovable types like us?
Listen, have either of you lovable types heard anything about Gavin?
No, not actually, Bobby. We just know he's still out there somewhere. I suppose you've heard that Jody's back.
Yeah, I heard that. I was a little surprised. I thought she wasn't going to come back without him, you know.
Well, she didn't abandon anyway, that's what you want.
What happened? They didn't break up, did they?
No, it's not what they wanted. Jody was caught in the Whitney house, and Gavin got away.
I see. Those two really belong together, don't they?
Yeah. I guess they do. That's something there for you.
Thank you, sir.
Look who's here. Spencer Varney, Whitney's new Gunther. Well, why don't you get some fresh air?
Can I get you a drink? No, for me.
Scotch and water, please.
I can't believe you told him. What made you want to do that?
Nothing wrong with my knowing Gunther. I should have told him from the beginning.
Did you tell him you also knew me?
Why should I mention you?
Okay, then he doesn't know that we all worked in the same house for Bowie.
I'm sure he doesn't even care, Roxanne.
My name is Nora, and don't you forget it. Now, you may not be able to keep your own secrets, Spencer Varney, but you damn well better keep mine.
This
I'd be all right to admit you knew Gunther, but if the people I work for found out, well, I'd be looking for a job now, wouldn't I?
Is that why you changed your name? Have the Cavanaughs heard about Roxanne?
They may have. Gunther might have talked about me.
You flatter yourself. If I remember Gunther correctly, he never gave you another thought after that whole
That's a
thing.
lie. Gunther loved me.
You're fooling yourself, Roxanne.
My name is Nora.
Look, Gunther never cared about anybody but himself.
That's not true. He cared about me. We would have stayed together if I hadn't gotten ill.
Yeah?
We'd be together right now if it wasn't for them, the people who killed him.
Only one person killed him, Roxanne.
Wrong. You don't read the newspapers very carefully, Spencer. There were two of them. One of them shot him. The other let him bleed to death.
So it's true. You're not after this job for the money. You're after a little bit of revenge, aren't you?
Don't be ridiculous, Spencer. This is the best job I've ever had. Mrs. Cavanaugh likes me. She's absolutely thrilled with me. Well, it's true. I'm really doing well.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
It's really a happy home, Spencer. Absolutely perfect couple. Couldn't be happier.
That's just eating your heart out, isn't it, Roxanne?
I think people should deserve the happiness they get. But don't worry. It's not going to last for long.
What's the job or the happiness? Now, look, I know you didn't want any advice, just dinner, but I'm going to tell you something anyway. Don't do anything stupid. I mean, don't mess around with these people's lives. Don't put yourself in line for that strange hospital you were in.
Don't you talk to me like that. I am fine. I got a clean bill of health when I left there.
I can see that.
There's nothing wrong with me. There's going to be a lot wrong with the Cavanaughs when I get through with them.
What do you have in mind?
I don't really know. But I can see a lot of trouble down the road for them. You might say that I'm going to jinx them. Come in.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay.
Good. Thanks for having me over.
Well, you said you wanted to see the new apartment.
Yeah, right. Great. Nice place. Where's your roommate?
Oh, Missy and Cliff went to a movie.
Oh, that's nice of them. No, that was supposed to mean that it's nice that they're getting along. It's a damn shame when folks don't get along.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the place is real nice, Didi.
Well, as you can see, we're only half moved in.
Hey, a grandfather clock. How about that? You know, I used to be crazy about these things. You don't see too many in apartments. It's 3 o'clock. I got 9:30.
It's Mitzi's clock.
Oh.
So is the doll collection. Something tells me that Mitzi Martin is not your ordinary type of roommate.
I could have told you that right off the bat.
Well, have you been?
Fine. How are you?
Fine. How's your wife?
She's okay. She's gone off again, you know.
Yeah, I kind of figured that out for myself.
Well, can I offer you a cold drink or something?
I don't suppose you'd have beer lying around?
You don't suppose right. But I can offer you some fruit juice or ginger ale.
Either sounds fine.
Okay.
May I,
Sure, go right ahead. I'm sorry I can't offer you a drink, Calvin, but we haven't stocked our liquor cabinet yet. As a matter of fact, we don't have a liquor cabinet.
Oh, that's quite all right. Star didn't go back on that nightclub tour, you know.
Oh?
No, she went to New York City and auditioned for a big Broadway musical.
Wonderful. I hope she gets it.
Uh-huh.
You don't sound too enthused.
Well, to tell you the truth, Didi, I really don't know how I feel about it. I mean, if she gets it and if it's a hit...
Then you might not see her for a long time, or you might even have to move to New York City.
Oh, I don't think there's much chance of that. This is, good.
Secret recipe. Well, Star wasn't here for very long. You must miss her.
Well, yeah, I guess it's always, you know, it's always tough not seeing the people you care about. I miss seeing you.
Well, you were busy. I was busy.
You still seeing, Julius?
Oh, yes.
Is it, serious with you two?
Calvin, I'm not committed to Julius or to anyone. My one commitment is to my work.
I see. Well, in that case, maybe, I can tear you away from your work long enough to, have dinner with me, maybe, you know, next week or something.
Calvin, how long has Star been gone?
She just left.
And you didn't even wait for her pillow to get cold, did you?
Didi, that's a hell of a thing to say.
Sorry. It just slipped out. But it's the truth, isn't it?
Look, Didi, it's not that I didn't think of seeing you before now.
Right, I know. It's just that your wife was in town, right? That's okay. Don't answer that question, Calvin. Some questions are just too tough to answer.
Yeah, I guess so.
Going so soon?
Yeah, I think it's best. Thanks for, drink. I hope you and Mitzi get along well.
Calvin. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't have said some of the things that I said.
I'm sorry too, Didi. What a surprise.
Oh, no, don't tell me you're dating Valerie Bryson.
No, actually, she doesn't even know I'm calling on her.
A police raid? Are you trying to catch her in the act?
What kind of an act would I catch her in?
I don't know, but I'd hate to speculate. She's not home. Why don't you just break down the door?
Actually, it wasn't that urgent. I just stopped by to talk to her.
About what?
Well, goodbye, Mrs. Whitney. Nice running into you again. Are you going down?
Yes, I am. I heard something very interesting about you.
Oh?
That your last name is really Wilcox.
Who told you that?
Geraldine. Made me very curious. Why don't you use your real name?
I do use my real name. I just don't use my full name.
Why not?
Well, it's a long story. Too long to talk about in an elevator.
Well, I'm not in any hurry, so why don't we go to the friendly neighborhood bar for a drink?
White wine, Irish whiskey.
Thank you.
So I'm very surprised that I didn't know about your father because I used to be in politics.
Oh, really? My father was not a politician.
Well, he worked in Washington. It's the same thing. But anyway, it's sad. He was sick or something?
Well, you might have thought that if you'd seen him a couple of months before he died, but it was not a sickness of the body.
He was insane?
No, it wasn't his mind. His soul, maybe. My father committed suicide because he had been accused of stealing some very sensitive, top-secret government documents.
Your father was a traitor?
No, my father was not a traitor. He never stole anything in his life, believe me. Unfortunately, he decided to take his own life before his innocence could be proven. That's why I've decided not to use my father's name. I'm not ashamed of it. I just thought that it might make things easier if I ran across somebody who could help me.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm sure of my father's innocence. But nobody else seems to care about the truth. I'm the only one who's looking.
What are you looking for? Okay, so you think your father's innocent. Do you know who did it?
Yes, I do. It was a man named Jefferson Brown.